Om Shanti, how are you? Today we are going to discuss a very important topic, porn addiction and masturbation. Many doctors who speaks on the topic of getting rid of masturbation and porn addiction always start with this statement: watching porn is not wrong, doing masturbation is not wrong. And they even add, masturbation is good for health, it protects you from getting prostate cancer. So they are actually convincing the viewers that it is good to watch porn and masturbate. But the topic is to get rid of them. Why the hell would they ever want to get rid of them when they are totally convinced that it is quite healthy and good? And why do doctors speak on getting rid of masturbation and porn addiction if it is really good? So it totally contradicts with each other, right? Especially in places like India, doctors say in good old times people get married at a very young age, so there was no need for them to masturbate or to watch porn. But that's not the case now. Everybody gets married very lately because of unemployment problems and they need to get settled, so it takes around 30 years or even more for them to get married. So it is hard for them to control the urges. So it is better for them to masturbate instead of indulging in illegal activities like molesting and raping. But the actual truth is, it is only by watching pornographic materials and masturbating by imagining others of opposite sex, the mind gets so corrupted to indulge in activities like rape and molestation. You can ask any rapist, they will definitely be addicted to pornography and they would be doing masturbation on regular basis. And scientists are of the wrong opinion that humans always think as humans think now. No, that's not the case. In the olden days, people got married very young, and especially in India there was child marriage where they get married when they were as young as 2 to 3 years old. They wouldn't be involving in any sort of physical activity, and obviously they couldn't. So they will be living together as brothers and sisters till they attain certain age. Only after that they indulge in sexual acts purely for giving birth to child. And one thing scientists have forgotten is there were no birth control methods back then. So obviously they couldn't be indulging in sex daily as people do today. If they have 8 to 10 kids, it obviously means that's the number of times they had sex in their whole lifetime. And they wouldn't have sex after the girl gets pregnant. And they wouldn't have sex when the girl is breastfeeding her baby. So obviously for 2 years they would, 2 or even more, they wouldn't have sex. So just think for a moment, do you think people who have sex once in 2 years, they will be addicted to sex? They won't even enjoy sex. They do it purely for getting the child. It is because of these glamour images that comes in movies and in the name of modern culture that people are obsessed with lustful thoughts, which entice them into having more and more sex with the same partner or multiple partners, or to indulge in acts like masturbation and indulge in watching pornographic materials. At least it's very nice to hear that Western countries now started realizing that watching porn is bad. But the reason they put forward for forbidding porn is different. They say by watching more and more pornographic material, people actually indirectly encourages prostitution to happen, trafficking of young girls to happen. So to put an end to it, please avoid watching porn. And watching more and more porn will prevent you from enjoying sexual acts with the real human. That is what they say. But that's not true. Watching more and more porn will create more and more lustful thoughts, so that will induce you to have to indulge in more and more sexual acts, especially with multiple partners in multiple ways. And there are some that they think by avoiding watching pornography and by not masturbating, they can attract person of opposite sex. So with this goal in mind, do you think they will ever get rid of masturbation and watching pornographic material? Because their aim itself is to have sex. By refraining themselves from sex for a temporary period, they want to fall in sex in the end. So that will definitely not work. Why? Because nobody says sex is wrong. That's the main problem. Unless you start instilling in your mind very strongly that sex itself is wrong, evil, sin, you can never conquer doing masturbation or watching pornographic material or prostitution. That is the main reason even religious leaders fall for lust, because deep in their mind they have this thought that sex is not wrong, because no religion says that explicitly, but indirectly it is there. But they think that sex is not wrong, but still they need to refrain from sex because of their status as pastor, nun, and so on. And a sister, while giving TEDx talk, said that nobody knows for sure how much negative impact watching porn has made on mind, emotion, and physical health. Now we are encountering new and new microorganisms that we can't even fight against. Actually, people say those microbes already exist, they always exist. The reason for them to create diseases on us all of a sudden is because we have lost the immune power that we once possessed. What could be the possible reason? Don't you think indulging in sexual acts quite frequently could be the predominant reason for us to lose immunity? And you can also see many doctors saying that watching porn is okay as long as it doesn't exceed the limit, and the same with masturbation. So only we shouldn't get addicted to them, but the reality is once you start watching pornography for the first time, you get addicted to it. Once you start masturbating for the first time, you get addicted to it. But luckily, everybody after watching porn and masturbation, they have this natural instinct that what they did is wrong. They didn't learn it from others. They had it naturally. But these scientists try to convince others that they are not bad. But you shouldn't get addicted to it. And they have this weird definition that addiction happens only if you couldn't go to work or focus on anything. Only then you are addicted. Till then, watching porn and masturbation is totally okay. Because they themselves are addicted to watching porn and masturbation, they say it's normal for everybody to do that. To realize that we are already addicted to it, you need to be very normal before that, and you need to be very busy in doing some activities worth doing. When you are very busy throughout the day and somehow you bump into this porn or get this habit of masturbating, then you will realize that you got addicted because you couldn't concentrate enough. Because you had very good concentration before that, and after masturbation that you couldn't concentrate enough, then you can easily realize that it is because of masturbation you have lost that power. And needless to say about the time wasted in masturbation and watching pornography, because that's, you can't limit it because it's available, so you want to watch it. So that's the nature of mind, right? Especially with sex, they want to prolong it as much as possible, even when they have sex with their partners. Now that may be difficult, but with watching porn it is possible, right? So they want to watch as much porn as possible, so they forget themselves for hours throughout night. They spend watching porn, so obviously the next day they will feel sleepy, and after having little sleep, when they wake up, the first thing that comes to their mind are the images they saw last night, and that is going to tempt them back to watching porn and masturbation. What they really do is they are actually filling their mind with these images. So as a result, when they walk in the street, they will see people through the eyes of sex. But God doesn't create us for that. Our eyes are created to see people through the eyes of love, not through the eyes of sex. One sister said after watching much porn, when she walks in the street, whenever she sees a girl, she immediately gets the image in her mind of how that girl would look nude. Being a girl herself, she is thinking like that. So that's the effect of porn. So not only these pornographic materials and other lustful thoughts, any thought that is not necessary for you, they are going to be a great distraction for you when it comes to focus. You can never focus on anything when your mind is not free from waste thoughts. And lustful thoughts becomes number one in making your mind hard to focus on anything. When it comes to sex, the whole world is lying to us. So obviously we could never come out of these addictions. So to come out of it, we need someone with authority to say that this is sinful. That's none but God. Only He has that authority, and He never speaks lie. Man never speaks truth. So God is always truthful, and He comes in the end, just before the destruction of the world. He enters an old man's body and gives this knowledge about our soul's journey. We were created as deity initially, and we were in heaven. This earth was originally created as heaven 5,000 years back. For the first 2,500 years it stayed as heaven, filled with diamonds and golds and filled with deities with divine characters like love, purity, peace, blissfulness. Not only humans, all the animals residing in heaven, they all exhibited these characters. That is why in religious scriptures it is mentioned that lion and cow, they will have water together in the same pond at the same time, which means they don't hurt each other. They feed on plants. That is how God created. And those deities, they are being worshipped till date by Hindus in India, because India was heaven initially. After the completion of first 2,500 years, Satan come into existence. How? Through 5 vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment and ego. Other than this, there is no other entity called Satan or Ravan or Maya. Only these 5 vices that is present in men and women combinedly called 10-headed Ravan. So last 2,500 years is Ravan's kingdom, in which we suffer a lot because we become addicted to these 5 vices, in which lust comes first. So lust is the number one enemy. The essence of all scriptures is to conquer lust. But still the religious scriptures and religions are themselves created by Satan. So it's impossible for them to come out of those vices. By Satan I mean humans. There are only 2 ways. God's way, that He gives only when He comes in the end. Till then, whatever we followed, they were human way or Satan's path. So how did Satan come into existence? That is, these vices come into existence. In the beginning, we were soul conscious, which means we didn't consider ourselves to be this perishable body. Instead, we considered ourselves to be this imperishable soul that shines like a tiny star in between our eyebrows that operates this body. So they look at each other as souls that controls this body and not as body. So they don't fall for lust, so they don't have any selfishness. So obviously they did not have the other vices like anger, greed, attachment and ego. That is why that was heaven. Not only that, they stayed blissful continuously. Why? One reason is they were away from these vices. That's the root cause for all sufferings and problems. And the number two reason is the true nature of soul itself is blissfulness. They did not depend on the external world for them to be happy, because they themselves are the embodiment of happiness. So heaven is filled with everything that causes happiness, and more than that, they themselves are the embodiment of happiness. So that's heaven, and we came out of it by time, and we converted this earth, which was once heaven, into hell by becoming body conscious. We forget the fact that we are originally souls, so we started considering ourselves to be this body. So what happens? The blissfulness that we enjoyed from this soul is cut off. Now we started to get happiness from the external world through sensual pleasures, thereby becoming addicted to it. That is how Satan came into existence. And that is how we lose everything that we once possessed, like beauty, peace, blissfulness, prosperity, health, everything. So as much as we become slaves for these vices, more and more we lose everything. And now we have lost almost everything. And that is when God comes and redeems us. He wants us to get back everything God gave us initially. So He reveals the secret to get all of them back. How? By conquering these vices, especially lust. That is why you need to conquer lust. You can find that the basic difference between the successful men and the total failure is the amount of lustful thoughts each create. Obviously, the successful person will have very little lustful thoughts, and the total failure will be filled with lustful thoughts. Not only that, it is carried over to the next birth, and that is the main reason some students can't concentrate, because they were filled with lustful thoughts in their previous birth, that it is still impacting on the next birth. So that's how we get punished for our sins, especially lust. If you can conquer lust totally, then obviously you will never be distracted by anything. So it is easy for you to focus on anything and get success just like that. That is why you need to conquer lust. So these are the reasons. Only then you will be conquering lust. You will make effort to conquer lust. But instead, these doctors are saying it's okay to masturbate, it's okay to watch porn, it's okay to role play. So that is the reason the world has turned into a place of rapes and many illegal activities. Anyway, that's not their fault, because after all they are humans. They are not gods. God is just one. He comes in the end. His name is God Shiva. By Hindus he is called Shiva. By Christians he is called the Godfather. By Muslims he is called Allah. God is just one. He is also a point of light, a soul like us. The only difference being we also reside with him in this world called the soul world, or Parandam or Parlog. We come down and take birth. So we enter this birth and death cycle that lasts for 5,000 years. While God stays away from this cycle, but still he has to come in the end to give this knowledge to redeem us. So the first 2500 years was heaven, and the last 2500 years is hell. Of course we are living in hell. But although we are in hell, we can experience the pleasure that we experienced in heaven. How's that possible? By conquering these vices. How's that possible? By becoming soul conscious again. Is that easy? Nope. Because we have lost that power. So how do we regain that power? By connecting our mind as much as possible to God alone and nothing else. So we need to consider ourselves to be this point of light or star in between the eyebrows, and remember God as a point of light in the golden red colored sky, because that is how this place looks like. So think of God as a star shining in the golden red colored sky. Think of him as your beloved Father, because he is. So remember just him throughout the day, no matter what you do. Whether you sit, you walk, you eat, you do any stuff, just make sure your mind is connected with him. You will feel the blissfulness throughout the day. If you can't experience blissfulness, obviously you are not thinking of God, instead you are thinking about some worldly matter. So it doesn't come just like that. You need to put constant effort to achieve that state. So the first thing is to remember God as much as possible, and the second thing is to listen to God's word and to churn the God's knowledge as much as possible, because God has come in the end. He has taken an old man's body and gives this knowledge called Murli, that is available in all Raj Yoga meditation centers totally free of cost. It is also available online, in websites, in YouTube. It is available in audio format, PDF format, video format. You can check for the links in the description. So you need to listen Murli daily, and you need to think of the important points of Murli throughout the day. Just keep your mind filled with the knowledge of God and nothing else. I know it's hard. You need to repeat it to yourself all the time. At one point you will start experiencing pleasure no matter what happens around you. So the more you remember God, the more your soul is going to get purified, which means it's going to get rid of lust, anger, greed, and attachment. So it takes time. Not only that, if you are watching this video for the first time and you are very much addicted to watching pornographic content and masturbation, then it's going to be tough initially. One thing that you need to possess right away is the strong determination that you will never masturbate no matter what. Even if you fall into the trap of watching pornographic content again, just make sure that you will never masturbate. So that would be the first step. The second step, cut yourself from pornographic contents. Like if you have pornographic magazines, just throw them away. If you have DVDs or CDs, just throw them away. For that you need to listen to Murli, because God is saying, not humans. God himself is saying that it is a sin. Daily he is saying, throughout Murli he is saying. So that will increase the guiltiness that was already in you. Because this guilty is quite essential for you to get rid of these evil acts. Usually you will have the thoughts to watch pornography or to masturbate only in the night. That is mainly because you get tired both physically and spiritually, so your mind no longer has the power to think on its own. So whatever was filled already, that just comes out without your permission. That is why God asks you to go to bed before 9 o'clock, before 9 p.m. Because you are weak after 9 p.m. Moreover, everybody around you are filled with lustful thoughts, or they engage themselves in sexual acts. So the vibration is going to attack you. So it is better to go to bed early, and instead you can get up early in the morning and start meditating on God as a point of light, say at 2 a.m. itself if possible, or else at least wake up at 4 a.m. So remembering God and listening to Murli and thinking about the Murli points throughout the day is the number one factor that helps you quit porn and masturbation. In addition to that, if you were very much addicted to masturbation on regular basis, then obviously you will have that physical urge to masturbate the next day or other. So what you need to do is, you should have that strong determination. Not only that, you should divert your mind just like that. You just ignore the thought of the urge to masturbate. Instead, you can listen to some music, something that you like most. It could be movie songs or anything. So you will see within 5 minutes you will come out of it totally. You will no longer have that urge in your body. So you do the same for 2 or 3 days. After that you will no longer have urge. As with diseases, even with quitting porn and masturbation, prevention is better than cure. So how do you prevent? By keeping your mind busy with God's knowledge throughout the day, starting from the early morning, say 4 a.m. or 2 a.m. So you should always engage your mind in positive thoughts. You should never let it free. Only when it is free, it gets bored and it starts creating negative thoughts. These lustful thoughts belong to the category of negative thoughts, and nobody speaks about it and nobody knows it. Yes, actually, the urge to masturbate or watch porn is basically due to depression. The initial stage of depression is getting bored. Nobody knows that. So you should keep your mind always busy and always happy and enthusiastic. When you are really enthusiastic about anything, you will not have these negative thoughts like watching porn and masturbation. And there is a myth that makes the whole world turn to masturbation. What is that? They say even if you don't masturbate anyway, your sperm is going to be released in your dreams. But that's not the truth. Just think when that happened for the very first time. Whether it was after you started masturbating or it started on its own. It is definitely after you started masturbating, you had this night fallout, that is the ejaculation of sperm in the night during dreams. And that is mainly due to the accumulation of these lustful thoughts through friends, through movies. So it is through these thoughts that one releases sperm during dreams. Both penis erection and ejaculation of sperm in the night is just the punishment for humans for having lustful thoughts. Just think for a moment, you are in the crowd and you couldn't control yourself on seeing some glamorous women. You get erection, but everybody is watching you. Don't you think that's a punishment? That's the punishment given by God for becoming slaves for lustful thoughts, for seeing people through the eyes of sex. And when you are sleeping with your friends and you have this ejaculation in the night, don't you think it's the punishment? Because everybody is going to smell the sperm, and it's going to be more awkward when your friends stay awake all night and you are sleeping and ejaculating sperm and they are watching it. I think you can compete with women to get rid of masturbation habit, because even women who are watching porn, they don't masturbate, but men tend to masturbate. Get male egoistic. Are you inferior to women? If they can control themselves, can't you? Just produce these thoughts and stay away from masturbation. Even if you couldn't quit porn initially. And coming back to the myth, even if you don't masturbate anyway, it's going to be released. It's just an excretion like urine and feces. It's not so. Just try the methods that we mentioned in this video, and for your surprise, you will see that you don't experience nocturnal ejaculation as much as you did before. First it would be once in every week, then it prolongs to once in a month, then 2 months pass, 3 months passes by, then you will wonder how come it's not happening now. Yes, that's the myth created by this scientific community, because they don't even realize this truth, because everybody is addicted now. But when you cut yourself from the friends and magazines and media that puts negative lustful thoughts into you, then and also you need to keep yourself busy with the God's knowledge, then you don't produce lustful thoughts. So obviously your body won't produce sperm. So obviously there won't be ejaculation at all. And you may wonder, if that's the case, how can someone gives birth to a child? in heaven, nobody gives birth to child through sex. They don't even look at their wife lustfully. Actually, they would be very beautiful, both men and women. They get married and they give birth to child, not out of sex, but purely through yogic power. By yogic power, I mean the power of thought. Husband and wife, they collectively have this thought of having a baby and the wife gets pregnant. So there won't be any physical contact. That is why we pray them by building temples for them. And unfortunately, without knowing this, Christians call these deities as Satan. And they are already under the power of Satan. This lust is Satan. They don't know that whether you have sex with wife or someone other than your wife, both are sinful. 33 million deities who inhabited heaven, they didn't know what sex is. That is why we worship them. And among Christian community, it is only Jesus Christ who was believed to have birth without sex, and that is why they pray him, because he is the only one who takes birth without sex. But here, everybody takes birth without sex. That's why Hindus worship them. So you need to understand that. So if you are getting lustful thoughts whenever you are alone at a specific point of time daily, what you need to do is you need to preoccupy your mind with something that interests you more other than sex. So to explain it clearly, you can take this example. A businessman, when he is making huge profits, he will not have a thought even to take food or even to excrete urine or feces, because his mind is so busy and happy with the profit he is making by interacting with customers. So not only that, when you are talking with someone on phone that you love most, even if you have your fan switched off, you will not sweat even during summer. But as soon as you hang up the phone, you will start sweating all of a sudden. So that's real surprise, right? Because it is nature for one to sweat when fan is turned off. But still, when your mind is happy, even your body stops its biological work. So that's the same case with getting these sexual urges. When you keep your mind busy with positive things, you will not have time to have thought that makes you watch porn or masturbate. So when you are busy doing the work that you love most, something creative, you will feel very happy, and also you say to yourself quite often that, wow, how happy I feel. So that will increase your happiness. So you will never become bored or depressed to have lustful thoughts, because every action is preceded by a thought, and we don't give any chance to even have a thought about lust. Not only that, another thing you need to be very aware of is you shouldn't look at women that attracts you. You shouldn't look at them lustfully on their body parts, no matter how tempting they are, how glamorous they are dressed in. Just turn your eyes away and you give yourself a pat for succeeding in this lust journey, in conquering lust at that instant. So the more success you get in turning your face away from such temptations, you will have more confidence and your determination level increases. And sometimes initially you may fail in turning your eyes away from temptations, or in watching porn or even masturbation. Then you will have this shameful thought and unpleasant feeling, and you can't connect to God. It takes more time for you to connect to God as before. So in this time, you say to yourself continuously, I will never do that again. I have committed a great mistake. So that will be recorded so deeply in your mind, so that the next time you encounter similar situation, these thoughts arise naturally and prevents you from falling into the trap of lust. Whatever I say in this video is not limited to masturbation and watching porn. It applies to all sorts of sexual activities between heterosexual partners and homosexual partners, to get rid of all sorts of sexual activities. The principle and methods remain the same. Not only that, I said that you can experience the blissfulness that you experienced in heaven when you stay pure, by staying in the remembrance of God continuously. So accidentally, if you fall for lust, then you will see that you can no longer experience blissfulness. So that itself is the punishment for us. Then you will know the power of purity. These doctors and scientists, since they were not pure, since they didn't experience this blissfulness, they do not know anything about the loss that they need to face by falling into lust. Not only watching porn and masturbation, even if you have sex with your own legal wife, soon after that, if someone knocks on the door, when you open the door, you will feel ashamed to look at him in his eyes. So that should say that sex even with your wife is a sin, is a wrong act that you need to get out. Not only porn content, all media are objectifying women as a sex object. They may have their clothes on, but still they are very careful in making the girls dress in a way to tempt you. So it is better to avoid the media totally. So whether it's watching porn or masturbation, it is basically our desire to know more and experience more. But while we were in heaven, we wouldn't produce so much thoughts as we do now. It's more like thoughtless stage. That is why we have that enormous power of making anything to happen just by our thoughts, because we don't waste our thoughts. The more you think, the more the soul power is going to decrease. You need to remember that. So the one thing that grabs your attention totally is lust. That is why you need to stay away from it. That's the main reason of all sort of violence and all crimes here, because we don't think properly, because we have lost the power to think because of our slavery to lust in our past lives. And that is the main reason God is punishing us with all sorts of diseases, natural calamities, relationship problems, and so on. See the children, they are very happy. They are not curious about knowing sex. That is why they are happy. As soon as they get curious in knowing about sex and become addicted to sex, their happiness level decrease. At one point they will reach a stage where nothing in this world gives them happiness except sex. And they need to have a large doses of it for them to become happy. You can't work without being happy. So it's very dangerous. Stay away from lust and make yourself happy with positive things, not with these lustful things that's going to absorb all the power from the spirit, not only for this birth, for the births to come. So becoming curious to know other things is a waste of time, waste of energy. So just focus on what you really need to know and just keep your mind filled with God's knowledge. So that will increase the soul power. But if you fill your mind with wasteful thoughts, that will deprive your soul of its power. So in order to control lustful thoughts, the first step is to control any wasteful thoughts, so that it's going to be easy for you to control lustful thoughts eventually. So how do you do that? By meditating on God continuously, right from the time you wake out of bed. So especially for the first 1 hour in the morning, you should spend only in the remembrance of God, and also meditating on the points from God's knowledge called Murli. And when you get these waste thoughts, including lustful thoughts, so you should catch it when it comes for the first time and just remove it. You need not go after it. You shouldn't go after it. If you go after it, it will encircle you so that you can't come out of it. For example, if you get the thought of watching some kind of porn and you log in, you have this thought, as soon as I watch it, I will come out of it. But when you go, you will see a bunch of other videos. So you will, your mind says, okay, let's see all these videos. Then after that, it's going to pop up one after another, because internet is filled with that. So that's how people spend the whole night and day watching porn. So where did you fail? In the first thought. So that is where you have to come out of it. You can't come after going into it, because that's totally impossible. So that's the same with all negative thoughts as well. So you need to immediately change your mind to something positive, or if you think your mind cannot think of anything else, go to bed and sleep. That's it. And you need to consider yourself as a pure soul, because you are being worshipped even now in temples, right? So the number one soul in heaven is Shri Narayan or Shri Krishna. So you could be him. Just consider yourself to be Shri Krishna even now. So what's the speciality of Shri Krishna? Of course, every deity will be pure, but he is the number one. So he will be very, very pure. So he would be very beautiful, he is very wealthy. So even in his temples you can see many beautiful men and women going there and worship in front of him. All he does is to bless them, not to see them lustfully. So that is just our statue. But we are here in the living form. So what should we do? We should do the same. So the only duty that we need to do is to give blessings to everybody. Bless every soul with purity, and to consider ourselves to be the pure soul. And not only we are pure, but our Father, God Shiva, is ever pure. So we are the son or daughters of that ever pure Supreme Soul. So you need to say this repeatedly throughout the day, so that you don't fall for the trap of Maya. Not only pornographic content, even the ordinary novels, the cartoons, especially of female characters, they are drawn in a way to tempt others into lust. Maybe we got habituated to looking into that, so we are very familiar, so we don't get turned on, but kids do get turned on by those images. So keep them away from the kids. Even the kissing scene that we see in movies, that will tempt the kids to masturbate. You don't know, because the kids nowadays, they are already addicted in their previous birth. They are more addicted than us, so they will become addicted to masturbation in a much younger age that we can never imagine. Maybe 3 or 4. It is possible. It is happening even with girl child. And people say if there is no technology, then obviously there would be no porn, so they wouldn't have become slaves for that. But the reality is, it is through pornography we are being punished for our past sins. How? So we must have committed many sins in our past lives, for mainly through lust. So if we have committed many sins through lust, obviously we are going to fall for the pornographic movies very easily, and we are going to spend much time on it, and we are going to corrupt our mind more and more. So we'll be looking for ways to make it happen in reality, but that's impossible through one body, right? So what happens in the end after leaving this body through death is our soul will be wandering here as ghost, either alone or by, it may enter anybody's body and make its desires like having sex with others come true. So it can have sex with as many members as possible, as it wishes. Not only that, it can see as much women nude as it wishes. It is totally possible. So it will happen for sure. And in the end, during the judgment day, God will ask, are you satisfied now? And he will say, do you know whom you had sex with so long? Those were the mothers and daughters of you in your past lives, and he will give the feeling of the mother when you were the mother of that girl, and you will see the vision of it and you will cry like anything. That's the punishment for you. And it is that is given in Bible as Lot having sex with his own daughters. So do you want to suffer that punishment, or you want to get rid of the punishment by filling your soul with power by remembrance of God right now? The choice is yours. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and never forget to share this video with as many friends and family members as possible, because everybody is facing this problem, no matter what their gender or age is. So definitely share with all the members you know, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe, because there's going to be more and more spiritual videos, self-confident videos, and there are already there. Have a look at it, and you can expect more and more. So do subscribe and leave your valuable comments in the comment section soon after watching and even after transforming yourself in this video. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.